wonder what's hot in the baking world right now?
It's not even that complicated. You get store-bought croissants, cut them open, shove in some store-bought cookie dough, and that's it.
Hi everyone, I'm Gemma Stafford, professional chef, cookbook author, and creator of Bigger Bolder Baking. Welcome to Need to Know, your go-to podcast for everything baking entertainment. From the latest trends,
this is the viral scrambled pancake trend.
What? To the tips and tricks you crave.
We discovered that if you take apple peels, toss them in a little cinnamon and sugar, and bake them for about an hour in the oven, you get a really lovely treat.
Plus exclusive interviews with baking pros.
Hey, it's Liz from the Sugar Geek Show. Thanks for having me, Gemma.
We've even got the Bold Baking Hotline to answer all of your baking queries and questions.
Is a Dutch oven really necessary for baking bread, and what difference does it make?
Yes, I think we probably would agree on that, do we, Oni?
Yeah, good. So join us every Sunday for your new weekly baking ritual. It's everything you need to know.
Westholme is working with the land to create nature-led Australian Wagyu. Westholme believes that when nature leads, flavor follows. Learn more at westholme.com.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Well, hello. Welcome to All in the Industry on Heritage Radio Network. I'm your host and producer, Shari Bayer, and this is our 397th episode of this series, which is dedicated to behind-the-scenes talent in the hospitality industry. Today, my guest is an outstanding chef who is based in Hawaii, and I spoke with her in person in early June when I was in Chicago covering the James Beard Awards 2024, and that is on my On the Road show, episode 396, if you'd like to check it out. And I will introduce my guest today fully in a moment. First, as I do in every show, I will start out with my PR tip, then we will have my interview with the speed round, and I will close out with my solo dining experience. As the founder of Bayer Public Relations, I'm going to tip the show off with my PR tip of the week. So today's tip is to support people and businesses, especially when they are in times of need. Life can throw us curveballs and be challenging on so many different levels. And as much as we can try to prepare for the future, the unexpected and sometimes unfortunate can still occur. Accidents happen, disasters strike, and loss can be an undesirable reality. And although we may not have control over some circumstances and the cards we are dealt, we can take action and do our best to support those who are faced with difficult situations, whether it's monetarily or with our time, or simply by showing love by lending an ear or embracing with a hug. So let's remember to be there for others and give back, as that's what makes the world go round. That's my tip today. Okay, so today's show is a special one. My guest is Leanne Wong, the executive chef and co-owner of Koko Cafe in Honolulu, Hawaii. Leanne is also a former contestant and culinary producer on Bravo's Top Chef, and she has appeared as a competitor on The Next Iron Chef, Chopped, and Tournament of Champions, as well as participated in season 17 of Top Chef All-Stars. And here's a bit more about Leanne's background. A native of Troy, New York, Leanne graduated from the International Culinary Center, known as ICC, and formerly known as the French Culinary Institute, based in New York City. She began her culinary training at Marcus Samuelson's Aquavit before playing an integral role in the opening of John George von Gerichten's Restaurant 66. She went on to work as the executive chef of event operations at ICC, during which time she was prominently featured on season 1 of Bravo's flagship series Top Chef, and subsequently was hired as the series' supervising culinary producer for the next 6 seasons, helping to build the show into the powerhouse that it is today. In late 2013, Leanne moved from New York City to Honolulu, where in 2014 she debuted Koko Cafe, an island-style brunch house in the Kamuki neighborhood. And I was fortunate to visit shortly after she opened about 10 years ago. We talk a little about that in the upcoming interview. And Leanne has been recognized on the cover of Honolulu magazine, as well as in Bon Appetit, Food and Wine, and more. In August 2014, she released her first cookbook, Dumplings All Day Wong. She joined Hawaiian Airlines as a guest chef in 2016 and was named executive chef for the airline in March 2018, leading the culinary program and menus for both domestic and international flights. In March 2019, Leanne moved to Maui with her family, and her latest project was Papa Ayana, where she was reimagining the restaurant for Maui's oldest hotel, the Pioneer Inn, located in the historic old Laihana at the harbor, showcasing her culinary travels while featuring local Maui-grown and raised ingredients. Unfortunately, the restaurant was lost with the wildfires that Leanne and the residents of Maui faced in August 2023, which devastated large sections of their homeland. Days after she lost the restaurant, Leanne teamed up with dozens of local chefs, volunteers, and culinary students at the University of Hawaii Maui College to prepare up to 10,000 meals a day for local victims and shelters using regional ingredients and donated products. And that I took from an article on Entertainment Weekly. My heart goes out to Leanne and her family and team and everyone in Maui. I can't imagine what it's been like. Really, no words. On today's show, we talk about Leanne's career leading up to the wildfires, and Leanne shares from the heart what she has gone through, what her community has gone through, and what she's still going through, and how we can help. So for this interview, Leanne and I sat outside in Chicago in the West Loop on the front patio of The Girl and the Goat. Thank you to Chef Stephanie Izard and team for allowing us to use your lovely space. And Stephanie is a contributor to my Chef Wise book, which I'm thrilled about. And I got her to sign my copy when I was there. So I loved that, and always great to see her. And I hope to have her on this show at some point in the near future. And it was a beautiful day, but it was a little bit windy, hence the Windy City. So apologies in advance for any wind sound that you get during this interview, as well as a little city noise, but that is city life. Also, there's one point when we stopped to talk with some industry friends who are passing by, and I cut that part out, but you may notice a little change in the conversation when we picked back up. We spoke for nearly an hour, and it was a spontaneous interview. I simply asked Leanne after her brunch if she wanted to sit down and talk, and she said yes, and so we talked. So that's what's coming up. I hope you enjoy our conversation. I certainly enjoyed the time that I got to spend with Leanne and appreciate her sharing her story with us. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Chef Leanne Wong. So hi.
Hi,
Wong.
Shari. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Wonderful.
So good to see you here in Chicago.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Because I used to be in New York and now I live Hawaii.
Yeah, so it really is so special to see you and be here with you. And so first, let's start out. What brings you to the James Beard Awards?
I was invited to cook the Post Awards reception, and I haven't actually been to a Beard Awards since I left New York back in 2013. So it's...
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I moved myself out to the middle of the Pacific Ocean, the most remote place on the planet, and I've been in Hawaii for over 10 years. And so it's a nice return to be able to come back to the mainland and participate in the Beard Awards and see my friends. And then, of course, Stephanie invited myself and Liz Faulkner and Karen Akunowitz and Christina Wynn to do a collaboration brunch this morning, and it was amazing. It was so great to be in a room with like just powerful, accomplished women and just make delicious food this morning.
Yes, I'm sorry you missed it. I heard it was fantastic.
It was super good. I didn't get to sample everything I wanted to, but
Well, maybe you'll bring it back. Maybe you guys on the road together again.
yeah, I know. I hope so.
So take us back before you left New York in 2013. Just a little background on your history and becoming a chef and being on Top Chef.
Yeah, so I went to FCI, I went to French Culinary Institute, graduated like 99, 2000, was working for Marcus Samuelson at Aquavit for a few years, worked for Jean-Georges, opened up Restaurant 66 in Tribeca, did a short stint as a private chef, and then I went on to become the executive chef of events and continuing at the French Culinary Institute, which is, I think, where we met. And through that job, I worked with probably all the best chefs in the industry. I ran all the chef demonstration programs. I got to work side by side with the deans, so Jacques Pepin, Andre Soltner, Alon Sayak, Jacques Torres, Alice Waters, Alan Richmond, Andre Emmer, all our deans. Like it was an
incredible list of names.
Yeah, but it was incredible. Like I was 27 and I was given an executive chef job that I didn't understand the title. I was too young and too full of myself to like really get a full grasp of the job, but it was like an education and learning for me every day. So every day I had to do somebody else's mise en place and prep out their demo and order their car service, and it was just all about handling logistics and details, and then my job was literally to make them look good. And so I think that prepared me for a life of culinary production for Top Chef. During the time I was working at French Culinary, I was cast on the first season of Top Chef. Subsequently, I became the culinary producer for the series for the next... We're in Chicago, by the way. That's train sound.
I love the natural noise.
Yeah.
And what year was the first season of Top Chef?
2005.
Wow.
2005.
Oh my God, we're coming up 20 years?
Yeah. 20 years of Top Chef. And had we known, I remember that first season when they didn't have sponsors, they didn't know what they were doing. It was not a well-oiled machine at the time. And we would joke, like Dave Martin and Harold and I would joke, like, yeah, look, someday they're going to have like Evian for water sponsors, and they're going to like take all the chefs to France, and then they're going to like give them cars for quick fires, and like, 20 years later, sure enough.
Yeah, no, seriously. And I just saw, when I get back to New York, Harold just opened a new restaurant.
Yep,
so I'm excited about. And Dave, I worked with Dave for a little bit over the years. And yeah, it's been interesting or very cool to see how people have taken their careers post Top Chef.
Yeah. And I mean, I was very heavily involved with, as the culinary producer for the series, including casting the show. So the production used to send me DVDs of like chef auditions, and like Tom and I would literally pick out our top 30 and like submit them to the producers, and then they would choose the final 30 to come in for final interview at LAX and like sequester them in a hotel. And so they would bring them in one by one into this like conference room, this ballroom, and it was just like me, Andy Cohen, Dave Serwatka, all the execs from Magical Elves, like Dan Cutforth, Jane Lipschitz, and like the EPs and like the producers and like the Bravo team, and like I would like help and basically I was the culinary part of the Inquisition, so I would ask like chefy questions and culinary questions.
Did you start with that in season 2?
Well, I actually went through that interview process myself in season 1.
Right, but then were you brought on board right after the next season?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they brought me on as a consultant for the regular season because, before Top Chef, it was really only dump and stir shows. So most culinary producers were only used to doing something like that or cookbook production, and to do a reality show where you're on a set and then you got to take it outside into the field and like build a kitchen out in the middle of nowhere, build a kitchen in the desert, or like this random stuff. It wasn't fully evolved at season 2. And so they brought me in because of my experience with French culinary and the fact that I had been through the process. So as a contestant, I could lend my perspective, like, we need better blenders, we need this, we need more pots and pans, we're missing this in the pantry. Like, there's all these things that I was able to like suggest to them. And it was actually the season finale for season 2, which was held in Waikoloa on Big Island. That was my first time in Hawaii as an adult. And after we filmed the finale, I flew over to Oahu to meet with my family. I have family on Oahu that's 3 generations deep, and that was like the very first like foot in the door for like getting the call of the aloha and moving.
Yeah, and that makes sense, you know, thinking back. So you moved to Hawaii then in 2013. And did you let go of working with Top Chef at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't actually allowed to, I left the production working as culinary producer in 2009. And so because I had been doing all this behind the scenes work, and I was like, oh, you know, like, I've given up my culinary career to like just make TV for Bravo. And so
But very good TV.
It was great TV, but at the same time, you know, and I do to an extent, like, I take ownership over a lot of those things that you see on TV now.
Yeah,
those challenges, those were me. The blind taste test, the mise en place relay race, those were my ideas, you know. And so it's like, I love that I was such a integral part at the beginning of the series, and to see it 20 years later, an international show, Top Chef Canada, Top Chef Mexico, you know, like Top Chef Europe, and it's just been it's nice to know that I was at the start of something so iconic. And
it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And I think I just saw a teaser for this season, and they're doing the next episode. It probably aired already, but a blind tasting.
Yeah. That actually stemmed. They gave us a blind taste test on the first season of the show. We filmed this little thing at the house. We called it the blind snack challenge, where we blindfolded people and fed them, like, I think we were feeding
Doritos or something.
Doritos and Cheetos and like peanut butter and like just garbage. And like it was a lot of fun. I mean, I met Stephanie on that show. So I helped cast her for season 4, and I wasn't allowed to talk to her during the regular season, so she thought I was like just mean and I hated her. I was like, no, I just wasn't allowed to talk to you.
But I love that. Stephanie Izard.
Stephanie Izard. And here today cooking a brunch at Girl and the Goat. And
that's really cool. I love that.
And, you know, Top Chef 20 years later is a giant family. We're hundreds of chefs deep.
Yeah,
Hundreds.
Because it's, season 21, I think? Yeah.
I mean, when they cast my season, we were 12 chefs. I think at some point they got up to like 18 chefs.
Yeah, I remember some seasons where they started, I think even the first episode they had like 18, but they cut it down pretty fast, but yeah.
Yeah, so it you know, again, it's been amazing to watch the success of that series and the chefs, their success, everybody who participates on the show.
Yeah, no, huge congratulations. I mean, yeah, you're a major part of it, and
I'm OG.
Yes, seriously, and it keeps going, and it's been an extremely successful TV show brand. It's beyond. I feel like it's beyond a TV show, but yeah, it's amazing.
I wasn't allowed to compete for many, many years because I was part of production. So when they invited me back to do season 15 for like the internet play-in, I was pregnant. I was 4 months pregnant.
I remember it. Well, I remember watching this.
I think it was 4 or 5 months pregnant. And it was, you know, it was interesting. I didn't actually think I would like win, actually make it back onto the show, the play-in. I just went for shits and giggles because like for years I wasn't allowed to cook again. And finally they asked me back. I was like, I'm in, you know, and I'm pregnant. And then I got back on the show and they put me in a blizzard at 8,000 feet, and that was a bad idea. So
it's all coming back to me as you're speaking about it. Yeah, now I want to go back and watch. But incredible. And so while you weren't working in a restaurant or cooking actively, were you cooking at home? Like, did you keep? I don't know. I'm thinking, did you get rusty, or you know what I mean?
So yes, rusty happens often, and I think so. After I had Rye. I didn't work for a few years, and I ended up, I mean, honestly, like the physical recovery from having a child was like hard for me for 2 years. And so when I was asked to do All Stars season 17, I signed on, and I was rusty, and I hadn't watched the show in a long time. And at that point I was like, Instant Pot was like just coming, like it was a big deal, and I was like, oh, they're totally gonna have an Instant Pot challenge. So I'm like home cooking for like an infant and my husband, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll just make everything in the Instant Pot. And yeah, I did season 17, and that was crazy, just because like I hadn't competed like that for Top Chef in shoots over 12 years, you know. So
Did they have an Instant Pot challenge?
No, they totally didn't. And I fell out of my league because I was with Karen Akunowitz and like all these really accomplished chefs, half of whom I had like cast on the show and produced. But I'm competing against these people I know, and there's people that, you know, that are, you know, legendary. And it's like I like to say that, like, you know, the Voltaggio brothers are a perfect example. I met Michael Voltaggio on the set of Top Chef Masters when we filmed at the SLS Bazaar. He was Jose Andre chef, and I was just chatting with him back at the house, and he tells me he's got a chef brother, and I was like, you should be on our show next season. And then, you know, he didn't know anything, but he was just like, oh, this looks cool. He's like, you know, I have a brother. And I was like, oh, that would be great. And then and like when we interviewed, we did final interview with those guys, it was so funny because they're like night and day, and we just looked at each other, we're like, Emmy gold. And like that was the year that we won the Emmy. What a story. What a success story, both those guys. Some of the best, two
amazing.
of the best chefs in the country.
Seriously. Well, yeah, there's been so many amazing success stories, too, and they are an example of it. And not necessarily the people who come out with the number one or the top chef spot, but like Carla Hall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love the friendship.
Yeah, it's real. And I think that's the best part. That's the glue that holds our industry together, is the relationships and is the respect and appreciation for, you know, like, it's interesting because we're here for the Beard Awards in Chicago, and we're celebrating the best of the best. But at the end of the day, I'm always like, it's not a competition. Like there's so much room for everyone to do like such incredible food, you know, and it's like, you know, and it's, I think it's amazing that we're here celebrating the best in the country. At the same time, I think about all the like little mom and pop shops out there, the small independent restaurants who maybe never get this opportunity. And like, it's, you know, there's just our industry is so diverse, so wide reaching. And there are just so many talented, passionate people who work in this industry, you know? And it's like, I hope everybody gets the opportunity to be celebrated and to be appreciated by the general public and by you know, because I know how hard it is to run a restaurant now. It's harder than ever, to be honest.
Yeah, I want to get into that and just say I agree 100% with celebrating. I mean, it's the reason I like coming to these events and covering them and being a part of it, because being a chef, being a restaurateur, it's hard, and I have so much appreciation for what you guys do, and I love the celebration, and yes, everyone should be celebrated. And I mean, I don't know.
I think Beard Foundation has come leaps and bounds in recent years in terms of being diversifying, recognizing people of color, women in the culinary field, really just, you know, the awards, I think, they had a very sort of like singular tone for many, many years. And now it's so wonderful for me to see, you know, women who look like me being nominated for awards and winning awards. And again, it's just, there's so much opportunity in our field and industry. And so it's nice to not like to recognize the chefs who don't have multi-million-dollar backers and, you know, like $5 million kitchens, you know, and that's cool, you know, to be able to look at small independent restaurants and champion them and like appreciate them for everything that they're doing to hold up our field too. They do just as much as the people who have the sold out reservations, you know, a year out. And it's you know, if you think about food, it's the fabric of our social lives and our communities. And I think sometimes, you know, again, the restaurant industry is misunderstood and underappreciated, and so it's nice to be in a place where everybody comes together for the same reason, which is to lift each other up and like say thank you and celebrate those who are like really achieving.
100%. Yeah, I feel during the pandemic, it opened some people's eyes to how much restaurants are a part of our lives, even if they maybe don't dine out as much as I do, but that they're a part of us.
Well, we're essential workers until we're over entitled service industry. And I think we're seeing, you know, I think that's been my recent conversations to kind of shift the conversation is trying to create a dialogue between customers and restaurant industry, hospitality industry, because I've been working in this industry for over 30 years, since I was 15, and you know, the disconnect, especially after the pandemic, continues to grow. And I think that, you know, people see inflation and, you know, you come to a city like Chicago, people are happy to spend the money, but I think it's really hard. I live in Hawaii. It's one of the most expensive states to live and reside in the country. And, you know, people you have to decide if you're going to go out and spend your money, where you're going to spend it. What do you place value on? You know, is it the experience? Is it the food? Is it cocktails? Whatever. But I think that divide and that conversation between chefs or restaurants and like their customers needs to like continue and evolve, because customers are, you know, they're the main source of income. And at the same time, it's like most restaurants, I know small independent restaurants, are struggling to find labor and employees, and, you know, it's all a math formula. So when we can't find labor, and then suddenly that impacts the business, or it impacts service, or the size of the menu, or the fact that I have to pay my employees more now because it's a hard labor market and I've got to raise my menu prices. Like, it's all connected. And it's just kind of that understanding that I want to put out there. Like, everybody here is just trying to keep their head above water for the most part. And we're all smiles and celebration and do good food, but it is hard work. And it is, you know, I think it's for owners especially, and not all owners have really deep pockets. But, you know, it's a bad week can put you out of business. So it hangs in the balance. And I think it's that I think on the verge, you know, and restaurants will never go away. But at the same time, I think it's a point where we need to start paying attention to the people who are behind the restaurants, the workers, the chefs, the individuals, the dishwasher, and give them more support, you know, and in terms of healthcare, mental health awareness and advocacy, really supporting equality initiatives. Like, those are all things that, in order for our industry to continue on and thrive and evolve, we have to be able to take a hard look at these issues that are impacting our industry, which is, again, mental health is a big one. We've seen people leave our industry in droves after the pandemic. And it's really hard in Hawaii now, especially in Maui. I mean, my restaurant burned down in August. People are leaving Maui in droves, which is really hard for the remaining businesses to find good help, find affordable help, you know? So it's everything. The cost of living has gone through the roof in Hawaii in such a way that the working class can no longer afford to live and stay. And it used to be that Hawaii was a beautiful place that was a little bit transient, so people would come and they would stay and they'd live and they'd work. But now it's like, if you can't afford your rent, you're not going to stay and live there. So it affects our job market, our labor market, and it's been I think increasingly difficult to keep up with the cost of living without, you know, again, impacting the customer who's like, why are the prices so high, or why do you have a service charge on this, that, and the other, you know? And it's a very, very complex situation that is not going to repair itself. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, I think these are all very important topics. I mean, I'm glad we're having this conversation because I think there has been a little movement or change. These conversations are starting to be had.
Yeah.
When they weren't before, but like the solution, is always like, how do you fix or change, and not just at one restaurant or one community,
In general, I would say that the average consumer doesn't understand how a restaurant works and the math behind a restaurant. And I think there's for some, there's a general assumption that like, oh, owners have deep pockets and they're getting rich. And an owner is the person who funds a restaurant. And they'll say like, well, why don't you pay your workers more and take less? And it's like, well, we do pay our workers more and we do give them health insurance, and I'm putting a 5% service charge on so I don't have to raise your prices. And why are you getting mad at me for that service charge? Because that money is going directly to the employees. And they're like, well, you should just take less money and pay your employees more. I was like, I would have to raise my prices by 30%. And then you wouldn't come to my restaurant. So this is like the medium.
Yeah.
You'd have to pay that money anyways if I decided to pay them $25-30 an hour. But now as a service charge, it gives them flexibility, and the harder they work, and it incentivizes them to do a great job. And it's like, and they get that money directly. It's a win-win, in my opinion, for a small independent business that, I'll defend it to this day, because we're not taking that money. We're literally, that money goes direct to the employees. And that's, if that's a boost to their paycheck in the back of the house, like that's the solution that we have now.
Yeah. And I'm so sorry about your restaurant, the fires.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm at a loss for words because I can't imagine what you're going through, been through. Are you rebuilding?
No.
Okay.
No. So Lahaina, I mean, the truth is that unfortunately the town burned to the ground, which means there's heavy metals, chemicals, asbestos, there's all this stuff that has like seeped into the ground table, and beyond the fact that it destroyed the water lines and sewage system in the ground, right? So,
and for people who don't know what we're talking about, give you a little background of...
Yeah, so in Maui, we had a disastrous wildfire in Maui in August of 2023. The fires burned overnight, an entire day and overnight in upcountry Kula and in Lahaina town. And unfortunately, the entire town of Lahaina was lost to the fires. It was a horrible, horrible tragedy. I lost my restaurant, which was in Lahaina Harbor. There are hundreds of lives that were lost, and thousands of businesses lost, and 8,000 people plus displaced without a home or a job. So that is, unprecedented in our community, and that's just been, it's been very slow going, I think, because of bureaucracy and just red tape, getting the help to the people that need it the most. And honestly, I tell everybody this, I'm like, as politicians don't sign up to deal with emergency crisis management ever, and so everybody's in uncharted territory, new waters, and just, they're trying their best to figure it out. But again, it's, to an extent, the recovery effort has created more chaos in our community where, the FEMA housing program, for example, is driving up real estate prices across Maui, and now nobody can afford to live there. Landlords are kicking out tenants, long-term tenants, because they can take a lot of FEMA money. It's more, financially gainful for them to take FEMA money. But like, once you're taking maximum taxpayer money to, for your rent, then you're never going to drop your rent, right? To go back to a long-term resident or renter. So you're going to keep that rent up there because that's what FEMA was giving you. So it's been really, really hard, I have to say. And it's much more complex than I'm explaining. There's many layers to it, but essentially, there's our housing market, our housing crisis existed before the pandemic, and now it's 3 times as worse afterwards. And so you see a lot of people leaving the island just because they can't afford to stay anymore.
Wow. What can we do?
Support small business, support Maui businesses. If you can't visit Maui, and again, Maui is open to visitors. We welcome tourists. Hawaii's always been a place that has been dependent on tourism, but I think, we want conscious tourism. We want conscientious tourism. We want people who understand that This isn't just their vacation, luxury paradise vacation. This is our home. So you want to leave a place in better condition than when you found it. So figure out how to give back. If you come to Hawaii, don't just take, don't just consume, don't just throw your trash on the street or the beach. Like, figure out how to give back, you know, whether it is buying gift cards from a small business or just dining out at local restaurants. Like, those are all things you can do to support local business. Like, when you come to Hawaii, don't dine at a chain restaurant. You came all the way to Hawaii to eat the same thing you can get back home, you know, like, that's not the point. So
it drives me crazy in New York City when I see people at chains, but I think people like consistency and knowing what you're going to get. But I feel, the
opportunity to actually connect with our community and meet the people who like make up the fabric of our community. That is the beauty of traveling, is to meet other people in a place you've never been and get to know them and get to know like the culture and the history and the food, you know. And there are so many things to discover. So it's like, why would you go all the way to Hawaii to just lay by the pool and eat Cheesecake Factory?
Yeah, I hear you. I'm not...
Sorry, I just totally bagged on Cheesecake Factory.
Not like there's anything wrong with Cheesecake Factory. I hear you. And so many... And your food, I mean, you are quite a chef, because I did go to Koko Head back... I was thinking, I don't know, I was there for the Hawaii Food and Wine Festival, and I got to visit... I think it was around 2015, something like that.
We had just opened, We opened in 2014.
Okay, it had to have been because it feels like a long time ago. So, but it was so amazing, and you still have Koko Head.
Yeah, we just celebrated 10 years, and we opened in Tokyo last year, and we're opening in Osaka in September.
I don't think I knew that. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
So we have international outposts in Japan, which was my goal from day one, and it's been great. You know, we're getting ready to open Osaka, so our Japanese chefs and the management team are all coming in this summer. They're going to spend a few weeks with us. We're going to train them. We're going to develop a dinner menu for the Osaka location. And, you know, that's that. It's a licensing deal, and we've got great partners. And I'm just excited to be able to expand the brand internationally, because that gives us longevity in Hawaii, just because there's always been that wonderful relationship and connection with Japan and Hawaii.
So cool. So how often are you going over there?
I mean, often enough. I've been traveling to Japan for 15 years. I actually lived and worked in a couple of kaiseki restaurants there for a few months in Kanazawa and Kyoto. And so Japan I consider like another home away from home. I know a lot of people in many cities, and it's just a very comfortable place for me to like live, work, reside, and just eat. I mean, it's like heaven for food.
Yeah, no, I've been once to
like
Japan, and I can't wait to go back.
Bad food is good food. That's what I like to say. I was like, even their worst dish is like better than a lot of stuff you'd have on any given day.
Very, very special. Oh wow, though that's exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, you're such a joy. I mean, you're talking about this. I mean, major hardship, what you're going through, and you have this. You still have this light. You're a very special human being.
Thank you. That's really nice of you to say.
I mean it, though. Kind. Now I feel
it's been.
I'm tearing up even saying that, but I feel like I feel for you and your community and what you're going through. But you're here. You're now. You're cooking. You're like. You keep going, and you bring such a tremendous, good energy, good karma, and I think it's amazing. You're amazing.
It's been, the past few months have been very challenging. I actually recently published a piece on mental health awareness in Food and Wine magazine, and then I did a podcast with Kat Kinsman, Tinfoil Swans, and we touched upon that on mental health advocacy, which is a goal for me. So I've actually have been talking to Southern Smoke Foundation. We're going to try and get their program and federal grant funding to by bringing their program into UH Maui, University of Hawaii, and getting some mental health care for restaurant workers in Maui.
That's terrific. Yeah. I went to an event they did in New York last year, and I feel they're growing the organization and doing really good work.
And I got to meet them in Charleston for Food and Wine, and then I'll be participating in the fundraiser this October down in Austin. Not Austin, sorry, Houston.
Houston. Yeah, I was thinking of trying to go this year.
Yeah, I'll be there.
There you go. There's another incentive to go.
But I think that, again, I ignored my own mental health and sort of my trauma from the fires for many, many months because I was busy raising money for the community. And I been spending 10 months raising money for other people. And I'm like, I need a job. Like, my restaurant burned down. My primary income was gone. And it's been a really hard 10 months for me, just because now I'm back to like mercenary cooking, where it's like I do a gig here and I do a gig there. And, again, to move back to Oahu and return to my restaurant and put myself back on salary, I would need to basically figure out how to do another meal service.
Yeah.
How am I going to pay myself? We're going to have to make more money. So. But it's in the works, and that's kind of like it is like it's more expensive to move back to Oahu. I'd be moving back to an island with 1.2 million people versus 200,000. So it's so crowded, and it's like we left Oahu because it was so crowded. And now really my only option is to move back right now, so.
Yeah, well, for me on my trip, I went to Oahu and Maui, and I afterward
night and day.
would joke with people saying, if I open a second office, I want it to be in Maui.
Yeah.
Because I fell in love with Maui.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so beautiful.
Maui,
and I went surfing, and and it was just so beautiful. I need to get back. And yeah, Oahu's a little more like I grew up in Miami, and it's like, yeah, you have the beach and it's beautiful, but it's also a pretty big city, as you're noting.
Yeah. I mean, again, we're so lucky to live in Hawaii just because it is this really unique microclimate, and it's beautiful year round, obviously, and we grow all this incredible food there year round. And at the end of the day, Hawaii tourism is expensive. Like, if you want to come to Hawaii, it's going to cost you money. And everything that, we live there, and yes, everything's more expensive for us, whether it's gasoline or groceries or toilet paper, the people you're hiring, everything costs more. So it's a delicate paradise, as I like to describe it. I was like, there's a lot of work behind all the glamour up front, and ultimately at the end of the day, it's like we want to welcome back tourists. We always want tourism to be part of our community. At the same time, again, we want people to understand Hawaii's our home, and talk to the person who you're the person you're getting your sandwich from or your server, and just be friendly, be nice, and that's it's not just we've gone through such a crazy hard time, and especially visitors coming to Maui, I always say, just be aware that whoever you're talking to, especially if you're on the west side, they more than likely have been impacted by this fire, whether they lost their home or they lost a family member or they lost their job or whatever. You're more than likely talking to somebody who's been directly impacted by this fire. So just be aware of that, and again, the best thing that people can do if you can't get to Maui is support small business. Buy gift cards online, even if you'll never use them. Yeah. And that's a way that you can help keep Maui alive, because we want to be here 20 years from now to welcome tourists, and it's just the economy's in a pretty scary place right now.
Listening to, I wish there's more I could do, but I feel this is good that, getting your message out there. And yes,
we just want to, here's the thing, is that there's disaster and horrible things happening all over our planet. And it was really, really hard to become last week's news cycle inside of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
There was 2 solid weeks of hardcore coverage of Maui, and then it was gone. And like Paradise, like the California fires, these towns are still rebuilding, and Maui is going to take 10 years to rebuild. And so we don't want people to forget that we're still there, that we're still struggling, that we're trying to rebuild from scratch. And it's a great opportunity for the community to reestablish and rebuild a new Lahaina in the way I think fits best for the community. But at the same time, it's we want people to come and visit and support, but not pull over the side of the road and take pictures of burnt down buildings. That's not appropriate, so it's just be aware that again, this is it'll be a slow road to bring Maui back to where it originally was, but we have hope, and we have a wonderful community, and we want to welcome back the tourists who really understand what happened there and can be conscious of it. Let's put it that way.
All right, I need to work on how I'm going to get back to Maui.
Yeah, well, anytime. I mean, like, you just come, and it's
so beautiful.
It's beautiful.
People are so nice. Food is delicious.
Yeah.
And, yes.
We'll be doing a fundraiser for the Guy Fieri Foundation in December.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about it? Because there was a big event that took place
last fall.
Okay, and raised a lot of money.
$1.6 million. Yeah, so we did,
as I said, a lot of money.
Yeah, after the
it's
fires,
incredible. I mean, Guy and talk about that.
So Guy has always had a great relationship with Maui. He vacations there with his family often. He's done Triple D there a bunch of times, so he's pretty dialed in with the Maui community. Obviously, friends with Sammy, Shep, all the big names that, like, the celebrities that live on Maui. And after the fires, he reached out to me immediately, and he's like, "Hey, what can I do?" And I was already signed up to do TOC that fall, so we shot Tournament of Champions season 5 in October, and that was like fresh after the fires. And that was like again, it was really, I think, therapeutic for me to just get off the island after, like, 8 weeks of, like, hardcore fundraising and food relief and community relief, to go shoot a show and be with my mainland chef friends who I haven't seen in a year, and just get some perspective. And also, they were just such a huge comfort to me, to be able to talk to Dusky Estes and her husband John when they lost their restaurant in the Paradise Fires and Floods, and just, again, my community, the culinary community, my chef community was so kind and so generous to me, like, post fires. And, like, some of the chefs on the show, like, bought me a weekend at Kenwood Spa and, like, a massage and everything, and I was just like, I'm gonna cry. But they were amazing.
Really nice.
It is.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think, we as chefs, people come to us, look to chefs and restaurants in the hospitality world when there's times to celebrate. We're celebrating also times of tragedy and need. Anytime there's a fundraiser, anytime there's a cause, chefs and restaurants are the first to be there, And so it was really really good for me, who had been, my own restaurant had burned down, but I was so busy raising money for the community that I didn't really stop to, like, process. And I think my time in Sonoma with Guy, with all my fellow chefs on TOC, was just such a good therapeutic time for me, because these are friends I haven't seen in forever. And we've all dealt with some sort of loss or time when times are tough, and they really motivate me to, like, climb out of it and try to help you climb out of your own bullshit for the most part, and begin to heal and begin to grieve, and that was, like, really necessary. Still is. It still is.
No, it's amazing. I saw the coverage online, and from outside looking in, it was very special and tremendous to have everyone come together. And I love the community of chefs that support each other, supported you, and support the cause. And that's also another thing really special about being here, coming to events and being a part of this. It's the celebration, as we talked about, but it's, like, the community and the love that the relationships that you've built, and the true friendships that come from this, beyond that you all can make, like, a mean burger or, like, delicious food.
I mean, we 32 plus chefs came together for the Guy Fieri Foundation fundraiser, Maui fundraiser in Sonoma in October, and we shot that literally in the middle of Tournament of Champions. So that was actually a really long shoot, because we put the fundraiser smack dab in the middle of it. And Krista Luque, like, organized the whole thing chef side in Sonoma. She was incredible to coordinate the event, and that's what I'm going to be doing. We're doing another fundraiser in Maui. in December, and we hope we can raise just as much money in that fundraiser on Maui at the beginning of the month. And yeah, hopefully people who didn't get a chance to go to that event will decide to come out to Maui and support the cause, just because we, you know, it's like we're gonna need help for years and years to come. And to have somebody with Guy's presence and Guy's power in the industry shine a spotlight on Maui and do everything that he can to help the community. And I think that's the amazing thing, is that, you know, Guy Fieri Foundation, they partnered with the Hawaii Restaurant Association and American Savings Bank, and we took that 1.6 million, actually 1.2, we dedicated to cash cards for restaurant workers. So basically restaurants could apply and get a $600 physical cash card for each of their employees, which I was actually one of the restaurants that applied. And so to be able to hand that money, those cash cards, to my employees who had been out of jobs, half of them have been out of homes, still being shuffled from Airbnb to hotel right now. To be able to give them that money, it's like, yeah, it's only $600, but it buys them time, it buys them necessities, it buys them fuel for their car to get to their job, or food to feed their families. Like, it buys them time. It's so necessary. It's so necessary that we don't forget about, you know, it's like, and I'm trying to tell people, I'm like, listen, the foreign defense budget and like the national domestic budget are two different animals. You know, people are like, oh, we're sending all this money to Ukraine. I'm like, different budget. Like, the two don't mix. And it's just, you know, there's so much, people always say, you know, food isn't supposed to be political. And I'm like, food is the most political thing. And so it's really important that people this fall continue to vote with their hearts and their minds, and understand that, you know, we're in a very fortunate time where we're more open now than ever to talk about these things. We're open to talk about loss and mental health and how hard it is to do this. And at the same time, I feel very lucky to be here.
I'm going to give you the biggest hug in a minute. It's coming.
Yeah, you know, it's not always rainbows and sunshine, but I think ultimately it's not a sprint, you know, like this career is a marathon, and we are resilient. Chefs are the most resilient human beings that I know. And so we will rebuild, and I will continue to hopefully raise money for Maui while I figure out what I'm going to do next, which I still don't know what's going to happen, you know?
Well,
but it's a day by day, take it one day at a time.
I'm kind of at a loss for words. What you've been going through, I can't even put words around it. And the fact that you keep going and you bring your spirit and your bringing the community together to do these fundraisers, to work together, is really important. And I'll have to get the dates for December.
December 6 through 9.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. Anyone, I mean, Maui, getting there, I mean, California is really easy to hop over.
Super easy.
Yeah. But I would love to support however I can.
Thank you.
And I appreciate everything that you do. And it's, you're just such a bright light, even though you're going through a dark time, really. And it will, I mean, I like to think positively, and that, you know, I like to also think that things happen for a reason. It's hard to, you know, when hard things like this happen, it's hard to...
These are challenges. Things don't happen to us, they happen for us, you know, and I have to remember that. And I think I have to keep in mind, like, ultimately at the end of the day, like, yes, I have loss, but it could have been worse. And I feel very fortunate that I didn't lose my home, I didn't lose a family member. And at the same time, I feel obligated, I feel like a responsibility to be able to continue to use my voice where others may not have their voice.
Yeah.
You know, so.
See, yeah, and that's how I feel about having this podcast. Being able to share stories. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Keep talking.
Keeping on.
Yeah. Okay, so a total 180 to end this fabulous conversation we're having. Do you want to play my speed round?
Sure.
We'll lighten it up a little bit.
Let's lighten it up.
So what it is I name a couple things and you get to pick your preference, such as chocolate or vanilla.
Okay. Vanilla.
Okay, I'm chocolate.
Vanilla caramel girl to the death. I'll eat chocolate. I like chocolate, but if I had a choice, always vanilla caramel. From my childhood. When you say vanilla or chocolate, I think ice cream. I think that's automatically where our head goes. And vanilla caramel over like a dark chocolate fudge. Anytime.
Okay.
Yeah. That's just me.
Yeah, and I like to tell people my favorite, even though I hate favorites, but I like going old school with Rocky Road.
My husband loves Rocky Road. I get you. My boy loves marshmallows, so I feel you on that.
Got a little texture and
got the peanuts.
Yeah,
I get that.
Okay, so all right, that was the sample one.
Okay. Rocky Road.
Rocky Road vanilla caramel.
Yeah.
Would be a good combo too. Okay, so eat in at home or eat out at a restaurant.
I mean, I love eating out at a restaurant, but because I live on Maui, and Maui's a bit of a food desert, I eat in at home all the time, and I make incredible meals for my family.
No doubt there.
Yeah.
Zero doubt.
If I lived in Chicago, I'd probably be eating out all the time.
Yeah. Well, I feel if I was living with you and you were cooking, I'd have more of my answer for me is eat out. But I might be waved a little bit.
Two types of people after the pandemic. You are either a door dasher or you learned how to cook for yourself. That's it.
Yeah, true. Okay, how about indoor dining or al fresco dining?
Al fresco when it suits.
When it's like this in Chicago.
Suitable. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're sitting outside right now and it's a little windy, but which the breeze is nice, but beyond that, it's like perfect day.
Last night was cold, so al fresco wouldn't have been good.
Yeah, no, we'll see what happens tonight. But yeah,
I live in Hawaii. We love
this.
eating outdoors.
Okay,
unless we need air conditioning.
Okay, al fresco. Wine, beer, cocktail, mocktail, or champagne.
So for many, many years, for maybe 20 straight plus years, it was whiskey only. And I knew I was pregnant because I lost the taste for whiskey. Post-pregnancy.
Has it come back?
Yeah, post-pregnancy, I upgraded to gin martinis. I quit drinking for a year, and then I watched Drops of God on Apple, and now I literally can't put down wine.
Okay.
I drink wine like it's going out of style.
And all different types of wine, or
mostly reds. I'm like partial to red, like light reds and pinots and stuff. But I watched Drops of God on Apple right as I was finishing my tour in Japan when we opened Tokyo, and my husband and son came out to visit me the last 2 weeks I was there, and I took my family to Tokyo Disneyland, and I think we went for 3 nights, and by the 3rd day at Tokyo Disney, I was like, where's the wine? And I started drinking wine, and I haven't stopped, and so it's been...
Okay.
Yeah.
In the wine phase.
I'm in the wine phase again. It's a return to wine, which is nice.
How about tasting menu or a la carte?
Depends on the restaurant. But I like a la carte, too. I like a la carte because it's like you choose your own, but I also like the tasting menu because it's a reflection of what the chef wants to cook, which I'm like, put me in chef's hands. Show me what you got.
Yeah, I hear you. Small plates or large plates?
Small plates.
Communal table or chef's counter?
Communal table. I do like chef's counter, but communal table.
Okay. How about tipping or all-inclusive charge?
Tipping.
I'm trying to think of Maui stuff. What's it? The ice.
Oh, shave ice?
The shaved ice.
Donuts or shave ice? I choose shave ice.
Okay, it's really delicious.
It is really delicious.
All those different syrups and combos.
In Japan, they have what's called kakigori, which is their version of shave ice.
That's what I was thinking
and
of.
It's like, some of the most incredible kakigori I've had in Japan, and yeah, it's what shave ice wants to be.
Cooking on a competition show or being behind the scenes?
I like cooking. I did both. So I like cooking on a competition show. Keeps me sharp.
very good at it. You're good at both.
I like to say that I have been losing on TV for 20 years now.
And they keep inviting you back.
And they keep inviting me, but it's like I do it for fun, you know what I mean? And I think it's one of those things like culinary competition, you know, now that I've been doing it for almost 20 years, it's like...
That's crazy.
It is, but I don't, you know, it's like you it's odds, and it's so arbitrary, and it's like I'm challenging myself. Yes, I'm cooking against other people, but it's mostly to challenge myself and see what I got, you know. And ultimately, if I win, great. If I lose, no big deal. Just because it's like I've been doing this long enough that I have good enough perspective to understand that I have a life to go back to. I have successful restaurants. I'm well established in the community, so I don't need to win anything to be a winner. I just like to compete and see my friends.
You're awesome, and woo! We're back in New York for a minute. Cheese plate or dessert?
Cheese plate.
Manhattan, Brooklyn, Maui, Honolulu,
Queens,
Chicago,
Queens.
Queens.
Queens. I mean, I lived in Astoria for over 16 years. I'm finally trying to sell my apartment, and yeah, Queens. Every time I come back to New York, I actually don't stay in the city, and I don't stay in my apartment because it's empty now. I don't have furniture, but I stay in Long Island.
You have an apartment.
I do. I own an apartment in Astoria that now I need to offload. But it's, you know, I stay in Long Island City, and because I love my neighborhood. I love the food in Queens. I love the food in Astoria. I just love the outer borough, you know.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll come back and visit. That's the game. And I'm just so thrilled to be here with you and see you.
Come to Hawaii!
And I'm not... People, regular listeners of this show know that when I say I'm going places or I like to travel, I do. And I would like to figure out a way to get there because I'm due to come back, and I'd love to support what you're doing and see you on your beautiful island.
Thank you.
It is one of my favorite places on earth, I would say. Really special. If anyone else, you know, out there can go support.
Yeah, go support.
Need support, and you won't be disappointed by the ambiance and the wonderful people who live and work there. So.
Yeah.
Wonderful to see you in Chicago.
Likewise.
And I wish you the best, and thank you for taking time to chat with me.
It's been lovely to speak with you. I'm glad we got to catch up.
Me too. I'll see you tomorrow on the red carpet. I know you're cooking tomorrow night, as you said, and that will be delicious. What are you cooking?
So I'll be showcasing Blue Ocean Kampachi, which is the only open ocean sustainably farmed fish in the country. It is farmed off of Kona, Hawaii on the Big Island. And they have a state-of-the-art facility right by the airport, and they are hand-picking the beautiful kampachi that go out to restaurants across Hawaii and across the country. Usually, I mean, over here, it's like the only time you'd ever see kampachi is like usually at a Japanese restaurant, like sushi, sashimi. So it's one of my favorite ingredients to work with when at home and anywhere else. And so we brought kampachi here. We're going to be doing it over our Koko Cafe signature potato hash brown with a soft, creamy French-style scrambled egg. And then the sashimi will go on top of that. And then we're going to basically do a finger lime ponzu butter on top, which is like basically a finger lime beurre blanc. So we'll have a ponzu beurre blanc, and then we're going to fold in finger lime caviar into that. So it'll be that really bright, acidic pop. It's a fun dish I do at home. And yeah, it basically is Koko Cafe in Hawaii.
I know where I'm heading as soon as the reception starts. Thank you. That
Thank
sounds
you.
fabulous. All the best to you.
Thanks,
and
Shari.
your big hug is coming right now.
Yay. Thanks.
Whether you're a chef or just love going to restaurants, you know the best ingredients are everything, especially when it comes to beef. In Northern Australia, there's a different approach to raising high-quality beef. Westholme, based in Queensland and Northern Territory, is working with the land to create nature-led Australian Wagyu. Westholme stewards 16 million acres of rangeland guided by their natural ecosystem. They're led by a belief that if they balance the needs of their cattle with the needs of the environment, both can thrive. West Home's team of rangeland experts and nature managers use a variety of tools to monitor and respond to the welfare of the environment, like satellites that assess grass health and on-the-ground research. Cattle are happier when they have the freedom to forage and explore, so West Home ensures that they can roam wild, foraging at will for the first 2 to 3 years of their lives. Their cows graze on native grasses like Mitchell grass, which is only found in Australia, along with dozens of other plants, herbs, and seasonal legumes. The result is a high-quality Wagyu beef that reflects the terroir of Northern Australia and a flavor suited to complement any cuisine. West Home believes that when nature leads, flavor follows. Learn more at westhome.com.
Welcome back to All in the Industry on Heritage Radio Network. I'm your host and producer, Shari Bayer. Today my guest is Leanne Wong, who I spoke with in early June in Chicago during the James Beard Award weekend. Leanne is the executive chef and owner of Koko Cafe in Honolulu, Hawaii, and a former contestant and culinary producer on Top Chef. And she has also made numerous TV appearances. Thank you, Leanne, for sharing your story with us. Sending my best to you and your family and team and the entire Maui and Hawaii community. Okay, it's time for my solo dining experience. So this week it's at Lula Cafe. Here's the rundown. The location: 2537 North Kedzie Boulevard, Logan Square, Chicago. The concept: established in 1999, inventive market-driven restaurant in a funky space that has a very popular brunch. The chef and owner, Jason Hammel. So why'd I go? Well, it's an iconic restaurant, and I hadn't been in many years, so I was due to go back. My experience. So this solo dining experience was in 2023 when I was back in Chicago at the James Beard Awards, as I have been going every year to cover it. So during that awards weekend, I made a reservation for one. It was an early dinner on Sunday. I was going between events, and it was very busy when I showed up. I think it's a restaurant where people like to linger, and it attracts locals as well as people from out of town. It's really a staple in Chicago. So I had a really nice time. I sat on the banquette in the middle of the dining room at a two-top, and I asked my server to guide me through the menu a little bit. And solo can be hard because I tend to want so many things on the menu, and there's only so much I can eat. So I tried to choose dishes wisely, and then I sat back and enjoyed. And at the end, I saw Jason. He was there, and we got to chat for a little bit, which was very nice. So what did I get? I got the first of the season strawberries with Robiola Carta de Musica, Saba herbs and flowers. Then I got baked French feta with marinated olives, cucumber, jalapeno basil oil, and grilled bread. And for my main, I had Scottish salmon with fregola, sarda, fava bean, baby fennel, wild spring greens, and nasturtium. And for dessert, because I really wanted dessert even though I was full, I got the Lula carrot cake to go, which I had as a snack later. Maybe it was a midnight snack, let's just say. So my take. Well, the strawberry salad in June could not have been any fresher. Such delicious, beautiful strawberries, and what a great combo with the greens and the cheese. And then the baked feta was this giant square of rich, delicious, warm cheese served with bread, dangerously good. And then the salmon was perfect, and it went really nicely with the fregola, which is a type of Italian pasta. It's a Sardinian couscous, and that was a great combo. And the carrot cake was delicious too. Definitely worth getting. So the ambiance. It's a casual, kind of homey place. It has an open kitchen. It has a couple different rooms. It has a large bar area and big windows up front. And then it has a nice outdoor patio that I believe attracts more people to come in because it just looks fun. And it has iconic signage. So, as I said, it's a classic. I'd say it's perfect for dining with friends or solo. Interesting tidbit. So Jason won this year at the James Beard Restaurant and Chef Awards 2024 for the Outstanding Hospitality category. And I interviewed him on the red carpet as a part of my James Beard coverage. And that is my last episode, as I had mentioned, episode 396, if you want to go back and listen to that. And you can also check out my YouTube channel, Shari Bayer, as I have our video coverage. So another interesting tidbit, also this year, Lula Cafe is celebrating its 25th anniversary with a 5-night dinner series. It's called 25 for 25, powered by Resi, bringing together 25 of the city's most famed chefs. And that looked like a really exciting way to celebrate. So congratulations to Jason and team. What an amazing milestone. Personal fun fact. So Jason and I both have books by Phaidon that came out in 2023. Mine is Chefwise and Jason's is the Lula Cafe cookbook. You can find both of our books wherever books are sold. And the cost of my meal at Lula Cafe was $72. That's not including tax or the strawberry dish, as it was comped. Thank you so much, Jason and team. And it is including a 20% service fee. Would I go back? Yes, of course. Hopefully next time I'm in Chicago, I can make it there again. Their website is lulacafe.com and on Instagram at lulacafe. And that's the show. Thanks again so much to Leanne Wong for joining me and sharing her story with us. I can't wait to see you again and get back to Hawaii. And anyone looking for a travel destination, I hope you will consider Hawaii and Maui. They can certainly use our support, and it's such a beautiful place. You won't be disappointed. Okay, so to find out more about Leanne, her website for her restaurant is kokoheadcafe.com, and that's KOKOHEAD cafe.com. And you can follow her on Instagram at Leanne Wong, and that's LeAnnewong. And you can follow me at Shari Bayer, at Bayer PR, and at All Industry. My Facebook page is All in the Industry, and my websites are BayerPublicRelations.com, ShariBayer.com, and AllInTheIndustry.com. All of our shows are archived at heritageradionetwork.org. We are also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And you can also check out my YouTube channel, Shari Bayer, for my videos from the James Beard Awards and more. Many thanks to my engineer today, Armin, and again to Leanne. I'm your host and producer, Shari Bayer. I'll be back soon with a new show. Hope you'll tune in then. And thank you as always for being part of All in the Industry. Bye. All in the Industry is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.